If you've taken the Hacking Reality workshops and sometimes you stumble a little bit on what to say to your client, I've made this video for you. So if you haven't taken the Hacking Reality workshops, please just turn this off and go sign up for the workshops. You shouldn't be trying to do the technique just based on this. Okay, these are just suggestions for some of the parts of the technique, the language I tend to use. It's not the only right way to do it. I've just been asked to share some examples for people. So, okay, let's start with pre-framing. So, especially if you've never done the Hacking Reality with a particular client, or sometimes you have, but you're about to do a really intense uh, trauma, something kind of radioactive, you might want to go over the pre-framing one more time. So it's basically like, hey, how about we shift gears and you and I team up to be co-practitioners to go and help your younger self who's trapped in that memory. So there's a couple things. If you're game, there's a couple things I want you to know. One is your younger self may be holding a lot of emotional intensity in that scene, maybe even more than you're aware of. There's absolutely no need for you to re experience any of it. That's not helpful to them. It's not therapeutic in any way. I mean, our job is to try and help them feel better as quickly as possible. And the more you can just stay grounded in your current adult consciousness, the better. The second thing is, I'm going to have you ask your younger self a few questions. And instead of your mind coming up with the answers sort of automatically, I'm going to ask you to take kind of a mental step back and see if you can let the answers come from your younger self as if they're a real independent person or consciousness. And the third thing is when it's time to do some tapping for your younger self, the ideal is for you to tap on yourself, but in your mind's eye, you're tapping on that younger self. Now, for some people, tapping on themselves is very distracting. That's a very small minority of people. If that's you, though, let me know. Otherwise, you're tapping on yourself, but picturing that you're tapping on your younger self. And I'll give you words to say to them. It's very helpful for me if you say the words out loud when you're repeating them to your younger self. But I want you to know it's always okay for you to change the words in any way you like to make them fit better, or if you want to explain something, that's always okay for you to take over the words. Okay? So that's pre framing. So once your client is on board and ready to go, it can be very helpful to uh, ask them a question that focuses on where exactly in the memory you're having them step in. What along the timeline, what specific younger self? So you can say something like, very simple, like, okay, now, and where do you see your younger self? What's happening for her? And usually, in most cases, it's sort of the thick of it. It's when the worst part of the memory is happening. I would say that's 90% of the time. Say, where do you see your younger self in that scene? And they'll tell you. And it's like, okay, great. You probably want to go with that. Now, the next thing I would say is initial instructions. Just tell them, hey, we're going to freeze everybody else in that scene, freeze them in time like a statue, everybody except your younger self. Even the birds in the sky, everybody. And then just go ahead and step into that scene as you are right now, as your adult self, and go to your younger self and take her hand. Just let her know, hey, I'm you from the future. I've come back to help you. Or if it's a young child, I sometimes have my clients say, hey, I'm you all grown up. I've come back from the future to help you. And so now I would give my client a second or two and say, hey, take as long as you need, but once you have a connection with your younger self, ask her, hey, what are you feeling? And let me know what she tells you. That little add on there, and let me know what she tells you, makes it clear in their mind, oh, he doesn't want to know what I think she's feeling. He wants to literally for me to listen to my younger self. It's subtle, but it's very effective and powerful. So ask your younger self what she's feeling and let me know what she tells you. Give him a moment. And then, okay, well, ask your younger self, hey, what did you decide in this experience? What did you decide about yourself or what did you decide about life? And again, let me know what she tells you. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the re-imprinting process. And you'll muddle through tapping on the younger self, changing the picture, but once it looks like there's a good new picture, here, here's some language that you might want to use. Say, okay, well, just looking at your younger self in this awesome new picture, what would you say on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is the best feeling, whatever that might be, how good is she feeling? And, if it's not a 9 or a 10, you might want to ask, oh, okay, is there anything else that wants or needs to come into the picture? Anything else you'd like to bump it up a little bit? And then see if anything comes up. But once you have uh, it's good enough, you can ask, hey, if there's a new positive feeling for your younger self, what would that be? And give them a minute. And if there's a new decision here, if there's a new positive belief, what would you say that is? And so, of course, I'm writing these down. Okay, great. So now we're into the re-imprinting. So I want you to just take in this beautiful new picture with all the light, color, sounds, smells, and then whatever details they've let you know, all of the great feelings, whatever those specifically might be, and this new belief in the positive new belief. Now just take this whole picture all together and imagine it's just flooding into your brain, lighting up all those neural connections in your brain, slow motion fireworks. And I'm just going to give my client a little bit of time to let that soak into their brain. It might be a few seconds. I'm going to be watching their face, of course, if I can. And great. Now, even while that's underway, let that same beautiful picture begin flowing down into your physical body, down your throat, into your chest and belly, down your shoulders and back. This beautiful picture and throw in the details, the feelings, the belief, all the light, color, sound, and smells, and just let that picture flow through your body all the way to your fingertips and toes. And if there's any part of your body that held the old negative feelings, just really let this new picture come into that part of your body. And again, give them a moment. Depends on the client how long. And then I'd say, okay, even while that's underway, even while that new picture is soaking into your physical body, imagine bringing it deep into your heart. And as it comes into your heart, let it get even stronger, even more beautiful. And now taking a nice deep breath into your heart. On the exhale, stream that picture out from your heart in all directions at once, just broadcasting that new picture out from your heart, beaming it out in all directions at once. And then to use Sasha's add on, you could say, just imagine there's a timeline from your younger self all the way back to where she was born. Just see this new picture effortlessly flowing down that timeline. And now picture that timeline extending from your younger self all the way up to where you are right now. and even into your own future. And just know this new picture's already flowing up that timeline, illuminating, encouraging every younger self, all the way up to where you are right now, and even into your own future, paving the way for you. And so once you get your client back, they're a little bit grounded in current reality. The testing would be, hey, when you look back now, what do you see? And I strongly advise with this particular wording to keep it just that. When you look back now, what do you see? I think that's as good as we can possibly get. And actually, any other wording is sketchy. Okay. Now, if, of course, if they don't see the new picture, there's a problem and you're probably going to need to go back in. But let's just assume that it's wonderful, it's great. You might say for the homework, okay, I'm going to give you some homework. We still have time in the session, but I want to remember this now. Your homework is just to keep going back to that wonderful new picture and just re-experience it, re-enjoy it. That's it. It's very simple. Just keep remembering it, reconnecting with it, just to enjoy those wonderful new feelings. If you feel so inspired, you can bring it into your heart and send it back out again. That's optional. But at least for the next 2 or 3 days, I strongly recommend all through the day just giving yourself a moment. It could just be 30 seconds to reconnect with this new picture. And when our call is over, I advise you to just write down, type out just a paragraph or two describing that new picture just to help you keep it. Okay, so these are examples of language I would use with a client. Um, you can totally just craft whatever you want, but I was hoping that this might be helpful. So, again, if you haven't taken the hacking reality training, you really need to do that before working with clients or friends or family. So, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. All right, Rob Nelson, Tapping the Matrix Academy. Thanks for watching.